Ovidia, welcome to Community Comments. I'm your host, Calvin Dorsey. Our guest is Ovidia Molina, Vice President of the Texas State Teachers Association. Good morning, Ovidia.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. First, I'd like to commend you and TSTA for your effort and commitment toward excellence in public education. In 2013, TSTA and other public school advocates convinced the Texas legislature to restore about 80% of the $5.4 billion that was cut from public school budgets in 2011. Yet, Ovidia, there's a lot more work to do. In fact, a state judge found Texas's school funding system unconstitutional in 2014. That ruling was appealed by the Attorney General, who interestingly is now the governor of the state of Texas. So, Ovidia, our conversation today will focus on what you refer to as working the system as a prescription for more teacher involvement. So first of all, what do you mean by working the system?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you, Calvin, for inviting me to speak with you today. I think when we were talking earlier, I said working the system, but public engagement in knowing the system may be a better term than working the system. Okay. Whatever you call it, though, it's important for teachers to be engaged as public advocates for public education, because if we don't, who will? We are the ones that know what it's like to be in the schools, on the buses, on the campuses. A quality public education is essential to the future and the well-being of Texas children and the future of the economic prosperity of the state. Teachers are the real education experts. And I think sometimes people forget that. We're the ones that know what it's like. We know what works in the classrooms and what doesn't. And we need to stay engaged to assure that the best educational policies and practices are adopted by decision makers. So we do have to be engaged in in what's going on, like you said, our new governor and what's happening with the legislature.
So when you say the system, though, what kind of, what's your experience? What's it been like so far? Do you feel that the administrations or the system itself presents problems for teachers?
I think a lot of the teachers don't fully understand how their job is sort of governed. We go into our jobs and we go there to teach, or we go there to drive buses, or we go there to work in the cafeteria. And we have our duties. But we don't understand that we can tell the people that are above us what works and what doesn't work in our campuses. And because we are supposed to be working for our community and for our children, we should be working together to make things better, to do the things that work.
I imagine there are times when those above the teachers and others that you just cited perhaps do not have an open mind toward feedback or collaborating with teachers. So my question to you right now is, in the real world, what are 3 steps that all teachers can take to make sure that their voices are heard?
Well, of course, as Vice President of TSTA, I'm going to say join TSTA as being number 1.
Okay.
Because there's power in numbers, and the ability to organize and make sure our viewpoints are heard. We have to have a louder voice. 2, we have to be engaged politically, and we have to turn out to vote. If we turned out to vote, we could definitely shape the way education goes. We can help TSTA locals recruit candidates for local school boards, starting at the local level, knowing who would be best for your district, getting commitments on real pro-education issues from these candidates, and then campaigning for them, and for legislative candidates and other decision makers who actually work to support public schools, and then hold them accountable afterwards. Number 3, we're going to try to get candidates that are pro-education, support public schools, and then hold their feet to the fire. After we elect them, we can't just say, oh, okay, now we have a friendly person on the board or in Austin. We have to make sure that we stay in contact, that we let them know what's happening in our areas, in our districts, so that they stay informed and make better choices.
Well, I know in the state of Texas, it's my understanding that there's still an effort underway to cut education funding even further. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we definitely do not agree with that. We are already underfunded. We've been fighting, like you said, to try to restore all of the cuts. We feel that the students, our education system, our public education system is the most important thing that should never have cuts in funding, because that's our future, both socially and economically.
Well, historically, I've been able to notice firsthand or witness firsthand the positive impact that teachers can have when they become engaged. I know in the Louisville Independent School District, which is located near Dallas-Fort Worth Airport in North Texas, had a very engaged an organization called CAP, Concerned Citizens and African American Parents. And several years ago, because of the engagement of teachers and others, the first African American school board member was elected and then reelected as a result of their efforts and engagement in getting people out to vote and in attending school board meetings. And they've had that organization has had a very positive impact over the years in the Louisville Independent School District. So I can serve as a witness firsthand in talking about how important it is for teachers and others to be engaged in the process. Now,
and it's funny that it's funny that you mentioned Louisville, because we received an email just yesterday about how the communications between our local leaders there and the school board and superintendent are very amicable. So we work together hand in hand, and that's what we want to do. We want to work together with school districts so that the children benefit from it.
Great. And to segue, while each local affiliate might have problems unique to their districts, what are the main areas of focus for TSTA this year?
Well, since this is a Texas legislature, since this year the Texas legislature is in session, we're going to focus statewide on legislative issues that are a priority to all our members. One, we're going to call on the legislature to finish restoring all of the $5.4 billion that was cut from public school budgets in 2011 and begin drafting an adequate and fair school funding system that offers every Texas student, regardless of whether he or she lives in an opportunity, in a rich neighborhood or a poor neighborhood, a good opportunity for a great public education. Like you said, only about 80% of the cuts were restored in 2013, and it was found to be unconstitutionally funded. So we have the system behind us. We just need to get more voices so that something is done about that. Two, we feel that lawmakers must reduce the excessive high-stakes testing that robs the teachers of time and the students' learning. It brings on stress that most people would not believe, not just to the teachers, but more importantly to the students. Three, TSTA opposes private school vouchers and other efforts to privatize public schools. We support community schools model, which allow teachers and parents and nonprofits and businesses in the local community to come together to meet the needs of the students and strengthen neighborhood public schools. And then we are also urging the legislature to increase the contribution that the state makes to health premiums for teachers and other school employees, strengthening the health care system for retired teachers, and protecting teachers' defined benefits and TRS pensions. So we've got a little bit of everything going on.
You've got a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do. So we definitely need more people to join the fight.
Regarding teacher engagement, so what do you think is the reason that more teachers are not involved as public advocates in exercising their right to free speech?
I think the biggest thing is fear. Teachers fear retaliation. We go into education as a career. This is our livelihood, but also our future. If we say something, we fear that our future could be taken away. Others just don't like conflict. As a teacher, I can tell you that my job is to stop a fight, not to start one. And we become teachers because we love teaching and helping children. We often, if not always, put our students first. But we also have to remember to speak up for ourselves. And that's the hardest thing is we put everybody else in front of us and try to do what's best for everybody else, that we often forget that we're also valuable, and need to speak up for our rights.
There are many examples of teachers and others who've lost their jobs as a result of speaking up, and I know that's a contributing factor as well. Everybody can think of specific examples. I was reading recently about an assistant principal who openly supported a candidate for a public office within the school district, and the principal and assistant superintendent supported the opposing candidate and made statements regarding the assistant principal's allegiance to the candidate she supported. Well, at the end of the election, this particular teacher, over a period of 3 years, was not only demoted but also fired. So when people see examples of retribution as a result of exercising what is their right to free speech in the real world, it causes them to be reluctant to participate. So my question is, in the real world, what can TSTA do to alleviate those fears of retaliation? How can you help?
Well, that's one of the things we are doing. We are letting people know, informing them of where their rights are listed in the different districts, in the policies.
For example? Okay.
Well, so if you go to any district site, there's a board policy online. So those are your rights, and then those are your rules that govern your job. But we also know that there is strength in numbers, and we say that everywhere we go. We need to get more voices. So of course, informing our members at the local level. We hold classes on educator rights.
And how do your members access those classes, though?
Well, when we have one organized voice that tells them what steps they need to take whenever they have an issue or before they have an issue, just to know how they're supposed to be in their jobs and duties. TSTA can speak with one unified voice about the policies that benefit students and the educators, and against practices that unfairly penalize and discriminate educators. As I said earlier, we have the strength to influence elections. We go in, we tell you about your rights, but we also tell you how to get the right people into those positions that will govern your job.
Let me
we
follow
offer
up
help.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, though, so when you set up a class to teach educators about their rights, when you set a class up, how would a teacher in any school district attend that class? Is it an online class? Do they have to physically come to Austin? Do you come to their location? Tell us how that happens.
That's a great question. Through our local leaders, we have local meetings. So at the campuses that we have representatives at, we make sure that an announcement is made or an announcement is posted of where this class is going to be, and it's at the different districts around the state. So we know that all the districts are different, and yet they're the same. So we go to the locals so that we focus on issues that are happening in that area. But we also offer help with individual members who might need advice or legal assistance. We can file grievances on behalf of a member in a school district that violates a member's employment rights under the law. And sometimes, it's just taking the time to listen to the member and then contacting that campus or those leaders at the local level to contact the school to see what's going on and fix the misunderstanding before it becomes a grievance or an opportunity for, something like losing your job.
As far as you know, are there TSTA members on every campus?
We don't have TSTA members in all of the districts of the state, but we do have members in all of the larger districts in the state. And we use our members in the areas. So if we have a local in an area and there's a district next to us that maybe doesn't have a TSTA or has a handful of TSTA members, we will include them in that area through our region trainings.
And of course, any teacher can contact TSTA directly.
Yes.
On the subject, to win a First Amendment retaliation claim, let's share that a plaintiff, that's the individual, must show that, number one, he or she suffered an adverse employment reaction or adverse employment action, such as termination. Number two, the speech involved, that is what they said, a matter of public concern, school funding. The interest in speaking outweighed the employer's interest in promoting efficiency in the workplace. And then four, the speech motivated the adverse employment action, such as demotion or termination. So those are, if you file a retaliation claim, to win a First Amendment retaliation claim, those are the things that you have to show. So, Ovidia, how can teachers get more information about how to become public advocates and become more engaged?
Well, again, by joining TSTA and becoming active in their local, by learning more information, getting the trainings that we provide, they can check our website, www.tsta.org, for daily updates on information that's important to the education profession, and signing up to regular briefings and legislative alerts that are emailed to our leaders and our members. We also have a TSTA app, both for the iPhone and for the Android, that anybody can download. You don't have to be a member. Members get more information. It's just called the TSTA app. You can go to the iTunes or the Android Google site. I'm not very savvy with that. But yeah, it's just the TSTA app, and it'll send you alerts on what's happening in Austin, so that if we need somebody to call up pro-education, we'll send you that alert, and we'll tell you, when to call, who to call, so that we get our voices heard. TSTA also, like I said, offers a variety of training opportunities in political engagement.
And what's that phone number, Ovidia?
Our phone number for TSTA?
Yes, please.
That would be 877-ASK-TSTA.
Toll-free.
Toll-free.
Toll-free number. That's great. Well, Ovidia, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners here? Because your job is so important, and working collectively, we've been able to see that positive changes can occur for our schools, for our students, for our parents, and everyone involved in the district, for our community. So what else would you like to share before we close?
Well, thank you for giving me this time. The biggest thing that I'd love for everybody to understand at one point is that it doesn't take a lot to become active. It just takes one meeting or one issue that you are just so much involved with that you want to make a change. That will drive it. And for educators, it's the future of our students. It's our kids' futures. And no other reason should be, there to make you take just one little step to become active and try to change and be political, because at the district level and at the state level, that's what governs our jobs.
Well, thanks for sharing your insight with us, Ovidia, and thank you for listening to this edition of Community Comments. I'm your host, Calvin Dorsey. Thank you. Hold on a moment, please.